Welcome, everyone, to Season 19 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics right here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me as always is Larry McLeod in the commentary booth. And we've got Dennis Branch bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. We started the new season off in Sao Paulo at the home of the Brazilian Grand Prix, and our MX-5 drivers, they just did not disappoint. We saw close, tight racing with some preseason favorites rising to the top, while others struggled to keep their heads above water at this track built between two lakes. Keeping with this season's global theme, tonight we head north of the equator and to the Great White North's Ile de Notre Dame. There may be no Canadian Grand Prix this year, but for 60 minutes, these Mazda drivers will endeavor to avoid the wall of champions here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So, Larry, we opened season 19 with the Senna S's providing a ton of drama in Brazil. And we certainly we've got a lot to talk about coming out of round one. But tonight, these drivers, they may feel like it's deja vu all over again as they attack the Canadian version of the Senna S's here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, I'm excited about this, and for those kinds of reasons, because we had such a fantastic opening round at Interlagos. It really showed how close these drivers are matched 1-to-1, and then we come to a track like Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where again it's going to be very closely matched. It's essentially it's almost like a series of chicanes on the way out. You run the hairpin, and you come roaring back for one more chicane. And it's just going to make this intense because there's a couple of spots you can make passes around here, a couple of places you can draft. It's going to really keep this field tight. But I think we're going to see an intense race for full 60 minutes tonight.
Yeah, you know, you'd think that this, although this is a Formula One track here built out on the island right outside of Montreal area, it seems to be perhaps the perfect track for the Mazda MX-5s. As you mentioned, many chicanes, lots of drafting opportunities, lots of heavy braking and passing opportunities here as well. Perhaps a little bit more so than what we saw at Interlagos just a few weeks ago in Brazil. And so since we're getting things underway here, this is round 2 for season 19. Real quick, just wanted to go and give you an idea. When we talk about this series going international this year, for the past number of years, we've had it based in the U.S. and in North America and many of those tracks. And of course, we're here in North America once again tonight. But let's go and give you a quick look at what the schedule is for the series this year as we now go into round 2. Of course, we started off in Interlagos. Here tonight, we're going to have these drivers going at it for 60 minutes at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and then we head across the pond, and we're going to be there for a number of weeks. Round 3, we've got a double header, 2 30-minute sprint races at Brands Hatch. We then go to the Hockenheim Ring, where we go out for 60 minutes. Then we head back to the UK, again, 2 30-minute sprint races at Donington Park. Then we go to Alton Park, and then finally we'll wrap everything up at Imola in October of this year. So a lot of traveling and perhaps a lot of new tracks for our MX-5 drivers that they have not driven before. And of course, I think starting off at Interlagos was probably perhaps the biggest sign of that. I think probably the track that they'll have the most experience with is probably here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but should be a very exciting season. And Larry, if we go and we look back just a couple weeks ago to round 1, I mean, it was a real pitched battle. We had Robert Hartley in his Orion Racing Machine taking the win, and a lot of surprises there in the pro class with Hartley and Fike battling it out to the very last lap, to the very last run out of turn 12. Some favorites didn't show us perhaps what we had expected. Mike Dam, our pole sitter, we still didn't get word on what exactly happened, but he had a very long pit stop.
Yeah, I think we suspect a pit lane speeding violation, which will definitely cause a long stop, but it cost him his race in a big way, and then he ends up in some back traffic, which is what happens when. So yeah, you're right. Mike Dam did not have the first round that he really wanted to get off to, so we'll be looking to see where he is tonight.
Yeah, he said started off on the pole, finished ninth. We had also Greg Mack and Mitchell Peak, who were also in the first three rows. Greg Mack in a pretty big accident, didn't even make it down to turn one, happened on the front straight of the first lap, and a number of cars, they made it through that incident, but then there was another pileup at turn three on the first lap, and that collected Mitchell Peak and ended his night. Mitchell Peak, I believe, started on the outside of the front row. So, a lot of big challenges there. And then if we jumped over to the open class, taking the win, and we'll talk to this gentleman in here in just a few moments. Steve Daniels with SKKJ Racing, taking the win in his Mazda MX-5. Now, Steve didn't race with us last season, season 18. The last time we saw him in the Classic Sprint Series was actually driving a Ford Mustang back when we had both the MX-5s and the Mustangs. This was back in season 17. He finished that season 10th overall, but took the win, having worked himself up from, actually, I think as far back as fourth, with Rachel Williams in her Shibke machine, finishing second. Williams had a great run coming out of turn 10 and unfortunately ran wide on the last corner, ended up about a car length back. But then a great battle for third with Dean Dibdahl and Nick Parsono. Those two drivers, they actually got together about halfway through the race, Larry. Both spun out, came to a complete stop, had to work themselves back up through the order. They finished in third for Dibdahl, who's just now, I think last week, turned 14 years old, and Parsono finished in fourth. So should be great to see.
Yeah, it was a lot of controversy, a lot of like you mentioned about those first lap troubles there for Greg Mack Greg Mack and Mitchell Peak. Those guys will be looking to get off to a really good start tonight. But that the ST Open battle, I think, is going to be a great one to watch all season long. Especially, I don't think Rachel Williams is here tonight, but if she's able to get back in future rounds, she had a really good strong showing in that first round. So great to see those first timers getting right up there in the beginning and really putting the heat on for what's going to be a really great season here.
All right, yeah, and so Rachel Williams not scheduled to be here, nor is Randall McGrew, who finished third in the pro class and third overall a couple weeks ago at Sao Paulo. But Larry, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, as our drivers are heading out now for their 15-minute qualifying session, let's go over to our great friend Kevin Ford, who's going to give us the track guide of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Welcome, everyone, to beautiful Canada. That's right, we are just north of the U.S. border here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Quebec. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 2.71-mile course, and it is a beauty. Let's take off here and head down our front straightaway. You'll notice our pit area to the left and our fans standing in the grass area to the right over the fence there. Heading across the stripe, we'll head down into turn one. This is a very, very technical entry, very difficult at the start of races. When you've got a packed full of cars coming through here, it gets very, very tight. Coming up out of turn two here, we'll head down to turns 3 and 4. This will be our first chicane of many here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Down into turn 3 here, this is a very tight right-hander. Take a little bit of curb and then back to the left and watch that wall. Boy, that car will travel out there very quickly. Narrow section of the track here as we come through 4 and then up into 5 and 6 here. We'll take our left-hander here. This wraps back to the left and then back to the right as we head up out of 7 and head down to turns 8 and 9, the next chicane. You'll see some overtaking opportunity on this little straightaway as we head down underneath the bridge into another tight chicane. This will be a right-hander here. Car placement is critical to get that exit just right as we come up out of 9, and we head down to the slight left-hander of turn 10. Again, overtaking opportunities through this section, a lot of straightaways here. We head down into turn 11 here. Very tight right-hander. Very radical hairpin to get around. Coming up out of that now, we will head down the long straightaway here of Casino Straight around turns 12 there, that little slight one. We'll head down to our final 2 corners here. This is the biggest straightaway and really biggest draft opportunity, to be honest. Slipstream coming down into this final chicane is certainly one for overtaking as we come down heavy onto the brakes here. You'll see our pit area to the left there as we come around the final chicane, take it right out to the wall of champions, and head down the front straightaway to approach the start-finish line. A lot of speed here for these Mazdas. Coming across the line, there you go. There's your track guide for Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Thank you for being with us.
All right, and thank you to Kevin Ford for that track guide, for that rundown of this beautiful track here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 2.71 miles, and for you Canadians, 4.36 kilometers and 14 turns. And so, Larry, we were just talking about some of the strategies going into this evening as we have our drivers starting to put down their first flying laps in this 15-minute qualifying session, single car qualifying session, and a lot of flat out running. We talked about the chicanes here, but a lot of flat out running for these Miatas that might make fuel strategy really key this evening.
Yeah, in a race like this where, it could come down to who's able to make an undercut or an overcut, your amount of fuel that you've got to take on at that fuel stop suddenly becomes critical to the amount of time that you're in. And so if you can sit in the pack, and we know that this place really lends itself well to that drafting scene because it is a series of chicanes all the way from the opening sequence. There's, essentially 3 chicanes you got to run through to get to the far hairpin, and then it's straightaway back. So you're wide open for a long time, and if you can come out of the chicane reasonably well, you can just sort of stick up behind somebody in their draft until the next chicane, save a little bit of fuel. You can cut your pit stop down by a second, maybe 2 seconds. You can easily pass somebody on a pit exchange as we get through this race. So I think that could be a big part of tonight's strategy for someone who finds himself in a pack but wants to maybe make an undercut or even an overcut at the end to try and take that lead.
All right, as we're on board right now with Steve Daniel, our winner last week in the open class. He is currently running 5th in class, but I believe that's with only 1 flying lap in the books. Now, Larry, real quick, wanted to let everybody at home know that we are still recruiting drivers for the Classic Sprint Series, and entries are open and available up until August 1st. So that's going to be just before round 3, before we head to Brands Hatch. If you want to find out more about the series and sign up, you can go to extrememotorsports99.com. That's the letter X, extrememotorsports99.com. Fill out the form there, get signed up, come racing with us for the rest of the Classic Sprint Series.
And Brands Hatch is a fantastic track to be running in these Miatas. Again, it'll be great racing all around, but it just seems to lend itself really well to this car, especially at the far end when you've got those high-speed 90-degree corners up and down the little crest. It's going to be a great race there in a couple weeks. So anybody who hasn't signed up really should look into that because it's going to be a lot of great racing. And as we've seen already through previous seasons calling these as well as our opening round, it is just some of the best wheel-to-wheel racing you're going to find on the sim.
All right, so if we go and we take a look now, as a couple drivers have a few, in some cases 2 flying laps in the books. Currently your fastest driver in the pro class, it's Travis Schwenke in the number 16 machine. There's Travis. Then we've got Mitchell Peak in the number 56 machine, currently running second fastest. Difference there, 0.03 of a second. Then we've got Robert Hartley, our winner from Sao Paulo. He is currently your third fastest, and Clint Vikas is running in 4th. If we jump over to the open class, Dean Dibdahl, we talked about him. There's Dean in that black number 19 machine. He is currently, well, he was a moment ago your fastest driver in the open class, but Brennan Horn in the number 45 machine. There's Brennan just crossed the line. Brennan definitely looking for some redemption. We talked about all of those early issues that drivers had, and Oren was our pole sitter last race in the open class and ended up getting bottled up in that wreck over at turn 3 on the very first lap and finished towards the tail end of the field. So he's definitely looking for a little redemption there. Steve Daniel, our winner from Sao Paulo, currently third fastest with Greg Brockway running in 4th. So again, we've got about 8 minutes remaining now in this 15-minute qualifying session. All the drivers, they are given the opportunity to make 4 flying laps. And of course, their fastest times will set the grid for tonight's 60-minute sprint race to the checker.
One thing about this track, it does take a lot of practice laps to get used to this place. I think what you're going to find is going to be a group that probably gets a lot of practice and they're going to qualify well, and there's going to be a bit of a break between them because this is one of those places where timing is critical to hit some of these chicanes. You can get some of the tracks like Interlagos, which has a lot of the sweepy corners, a lot of 90-degree corners, a lot of those general long type of corners you're in for a while. This place being chicane-like, it is all about hitting the mark perfectly for the braking point and getting the exit speed to come off of those chicanes. And it does take some time to build that rhythm with these cars to get through that just right. So I think what you're going to find is you're going to see some cars and drivers that can do that, or maybe they can do it once in qualifying, but to be able to do it repeatedly over and over again could create a bit of a gap early on of the top 3 cars pulling away, and then they might mix it up later. But I think we're going to see a lot of that. And then as you're going to see is you can hit the chicane twice, 3 times, that 4th time you can't, and that's where our passing and all the action is going to happen, is because to be consistent around here is so difficult, but that just means for more exciting racing for us to watch.
All right, here as we're on board right now with the number 79 machine, Nick Parsono. Nick, I believe, finished 4th in the open class just a couple weeks ago. Yep, that's right. Representing NAP Motorsports, finished in 4th down at Sao Paulo. He is currently running 6th fastest in the class, and again had a great battle with Dean Dibdahl in Sao Paulo. Those 2 drivers were either nose to tail or in some cases nose in tail for a good portion of that race, and came down all the way to the very last lap. John Allen here, and as we check John Allen on track right now, he is out to set his very first flying lap. It looks like he had 1 lap invalidated, so he's actually working his 2nd flying lap, trying to get a time in the books here. John finished, as we mentioned, finished in 4th, 1/1000th of a second back from Randall McGrew. McGrew won the drag race coming out of the final corner at Sao Paulo, and just beat John Allen to the line. John Allen, though, good recovery, definitely running a car that was a little damaged. He had an interesting event coming out of his pit stop in Sao Paulo, Larry.
He did a little bit. He managed to find that your cold tires coming out of a pit stop are not as grippy as they may have been when you went in. And on the way out, as it kind of makes a nice accelerating couple of curves before you rejoin after turn 3, he found himself making friends with the wall and did some slight damage to that car, but somehow still managed to pull into a 4th place in that finish. So pretty good for him to be limping at home. There's one wall tonight that he probably does not want to be a part of. No. It's got a great name, the Wall of Champions, that turn 12, 13 chicane onto that final straightaway. That is one where some of the most famous racing drivers in history have made their way into and left their mark on the wall, so to speak. And right now, that's a wall I think that if you're John Allen or anybody of the other drivers, you really don't want to make friends with that wall tonight because it could end your race prematurely.
Larry, and I don't know if you see this, but it looks like there is a mirror, an MX-5 mirror that is following Bobby Childs all the way around the track. There it is.
I gotta ask Bobby how he does it. How does he have a third mirror back there?
Yeah, it's like he's got it on a string or something.
He's got eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly.
Bobby's a talented guy, and you just never underestimate what he's able to do.
And no, still coming. Yep, and it makes the corner. Now that is, oddly enough, Larry, I can tell that is a mirror from one of our open class drivers.
And you know that
those of you, yeah, and you can tell because the mirror has the red markings on it. As you watch our racers tonight, is when we refer to both our. There he is. Now it's ahead of the head of Jeff Jacobs. As we go and refer to the Open and Pro classes tonight, you will notice that the Pro class drivers, they will have the black mirrors and they will also have the black number boards on the sides of their cars. The Open class drivers will have red for their mirrors as well as for the number boards there. So we'll definitely keep hold of that. As we now have just a little bit over 2 minutes remaining here in qualifying.
Let's take note that John Allen, at what was a tight battle between Hartley and Dam, Schwenke and Peak, and Vigas suddenly is John Allen a half a second in front of all of them. Yeah, that one lap he invalidated, he's able to come in and validate one there to put down that 55-1, and looks like he may have called it quits at the end, as most people have finished up. He's only taken 2, so he has an opportunity to come back out with some fresh tires and do it again if he chooses to. So I don't think he's got enough time, but he basically did that on one flying lap. So All right, so we'll tell you what. Well, we've got another 2 minutes left to qualify. Why don't we bring in Steve Daniel, as Steve currently is third quickest in the open class. So bring him in here. We'll have a few words with Steve and see how this night's going. Steve Daniels joining us here. Steve, welcome to the booth here, and welcome to Canada. How's your qualifying been so far?
Overall, I'm happy. I got one of my better qualifying times, just messed up on the last lap. So,
Yeah, this is one of those places. It's hard to put one all together. Have you had a chance to get a lot of practice here? Have you run races here previously at Gilles Villeneuve?
yeah, definitely through this league, I've done a few, but none of them in the Mazda. So definitely a new one for that.
Yeah, so it looks like you got some more competition. You're able to take the open class win a couple weeks back in the opening round. You've got Brennan Horn back tonight. Dibdall still here to play. And you got a few others there going to mix it up with you. Who do you think is your chief rival that you got to really keep tabs on tonight?
I think Brennan is still the top runner at this point. He's really shown some good pace. I got fortunate with some incidents in the last race, but we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, for sure. We're looking forward to a really great battle tonight. And it looks like it's pretty close here in that open class so far. So I've got you in here somewhere right around a 57, I think. And then you've got Brockway, Santinelli. You guys are all sort of stacked up there. Bobby Charles as well. So it's going to be a pretty close race for you. Are you going to try and be aggressive early, or are you going to play the long game tonight?
I'm one of those that tends to play the long game. I enjoy sim racing, so I want to stay in the race as long as I can.
It's a really good strategy. All right, Steve. Well, we will let you get yourself ready for the race, and good luck tonight. And maybe we'll talk to you again later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Steve Daniels, last round's winner at Sao Paulo, driver the number 96 SKKJ Racing machine, and we'll see him out here in just a few moments. And Larry, with qualifying just about ready to wrap up here, actually, I believe it is. Let's go and we'll run down the starting grid for tonight's race.
All right, on the pole tonight, it is John Allen in the Defined Auto Works MX-5. He'll be on pole. On the outside of row one, it's going to be round one winner, Robert Hartley of the Orion Racing team. Row two on the inside, another Orion Racing driver looking to get a better start than he had the last time is Mike Dam. He'll be on the inside of row two. He'll be alongside teammate Travis Schwenke there, also from Orion Racing. On row three, Mitchell Peak, really looking to get off to a good start. The local here, an eSport racer, he wants to definitely be up there at the end of this race. He'll be lined up with Mech Motorsports, Clint Vigas on the outside of row three. On row four is going to be the highest of our open class qualifiers, Brennan Horn. He's essentially the pole sitter for that class. He'll be right up here in row four alongside Greg Mack of the eSport Racer team. On row five, on the inside, D2D Esports, Chris Thorman. He'll be lined up with teammate David Payton on his outside. Payton, the Canadian here on home turf. On row six, on the inside, from Granite State Racing, is Tom Rathke. He'll be lined up alongside Kernan Motorsports, Tony Kernan. They're on the outside of row six.
All right, Larry, if we start off with row 7, we then have Dean Dibdall. He'll be starting 13th, and he is starting 6 cars back from our pole sitter in the open class, Brennan Horn. We'll have Jordy Fike starting right next to him in the eSport Racing machine. Then in row number 8, we've got Jeff Jacobs with Steve Daniel starting 16th. Then Edgar Santinelli in the Frito Sport Racing machine with Greg Brockway starting right next to him. And again, majority of these cars now are in the open class. Then in row 10, we've got Bobby Child starting 19th with Nick Parsono starting in 20th in the NAP Motorsports machine. Patrick Preventis in the Frito Sport Racing number 29 will start 21st with John Casey starting 22nd. And then we've got Robert Brist in the RFC Racing machine. That's the number 51 car. He will be starting 23rd. All right, so Larry, we've got the cars heading out for their pace lap right now, and it looks like it's going to be a short pace lap as they make their way down. Now the start zone here is going to be just coming out of the final chicane, out of turns 13 and 14, past that wall of champions. And essentially the pole sitter, he will manage when these cars can start. When he gets on the throttle, the stewards will give the green flag command to all the drivers. If the driver does not start to accelerate, if the pole sitter doesn't start to accelerate by the time they get to the start-finish line, the stewards are going to go and throw that green flag, and then it is race on as John Allen leads the field now down into the chicane and into the start zone here, and we'll see when
green.
they get underway. There we go. Green flag is in the air as John Allen now with Robert Hartley side by side as
Watch
they head
for the three
in.
wides in the middle of the pack here. This always bunches up like a big funnel going into these first 2 sequence corners.
All right, John Allen, he leads the number 3 machine of Hartley through. Then we had Dam and Schwenke, Vigas and Peak
Contact.
side by side. And as opposed to Sao Paulo, looks like most of our drivers have made it through the Senna S's for the very first time, as our drivers now make their way down towards that right-hand turn 3 and into turn 4, the second of the many chicanes here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as everything starts to straighten out. Brennan Horan appears to have made it past Mitchell Peak. Peak not with the greatest of starts. He drops 2 positions from 5th overall down to 7th. Then Greg Mack, David Payton, Tony Kernan there as well, but everything's starting to straighten out here, Larry.
That might have been Jordy Fike, who I couldn't quite tell. It might have gotten tangled up there in that first opening corner as we've got a car off already. This the 51 of Robert Brist coming out of that second chicane. But yeah, it looked like Fike, who had finished up on second spot in that opening round, might have been involved with a little bit of contact. So now you got Brennan Horan there alongside
matter of fact, Peak,
Mitchell Peak.
Yeah, lost a couple positions there. Let's take a look now. Looking down the inside is the number 7 machine of Kernan. He gets underneath David Payton as they roll out, and looks like Kernan's going to take a spot as John Allen continues to lead the field now.
And this will be where this is the longest straightaway on the track, coming out of that hairpin all the way up to the finish chicane there by the Wall of Champions. And this is the spot where if you can get a good draft, you can easily get up alongside somebody. And worst case, you push him down into a bad line, turning in. It looks like is going to happen right now between Payton and Kernan. Payton backs off, Kernan's on that rough line, but you watch, this should be a good line there for Payton going all the way down to turn 1.
And Tom Moravsky in the number 41 machine trying to get around Chris Thorman in the 68. Cannot get it done, but the driver's now spreading out once again, going 3 wide.
Bobby Childs leaving his mark on the Wall of Champions there.
And a
Big contact.
With, looks like, was it?
Brody Fike, the number 9. Yes, that's Fike.
Yep, we had Fike. We had the I think the 64 car in there as well as Tony Kernan. Both Kernan and Payton seem to make it out of there in reasonably good shape. As you can see there, the 09 car, not so much. And that is going to mean a run to the pits for that 09 machine. As we go back to the front of the field with our leader, the 101 car of John Allen. He's got Robert Hartley right behind him, only about 2 car, maybe not even 2 car lengths, about a half a car length up on Dam, Schwenke, Vigas, and Mitchell Peak. And Brennan Horan, our open class leader in the 45 car, he's part of that battle as well.
Yeah, it's a great start for him, but I feel horrible there for Jordy Fike, who had finished up on the podium there in our first round. He's about off to the worst start, as you can imagine here. A little bit of tangling in the first lap, turn 1, and then does it again on the second lap. And his night is going to be a long one for him if he's able to get that repair made. But out in the front, everyone's sort of staying in line. And we're going to get a quick replay here of Fike. You can see him on the inside going into the kink here before they get all the way down into the first sequence. It's already there together. Yep, and that's the 41 of Tom Rathke.
It was Rathke and Chris Thorman in the 60 machine that they all went 3 wide into that battle there, and didn't turn out very well actually for any of them, as Rathke is in the pits as well.
An even number, so that does not work out well for any of them. But what I'm seeing a lot of here is we talked about this in the opening about potential fuel saving, and I'm watching Hartley here as well as right behind him Mike Dam. These 2 teammates are probably thinking, let's make John Allen waste all his fuel, because they're just sort of sitting back. No one's forcing the issue, just playing nice. And I think there may be some team strategy here. Let's just force the lead dog go out there and use all of his fuel while we can save behind here and maybe look for late race pass.
Yeah, we may see them go and swap positions so that each driver leads the other through, and so they can stretch that fuel saving out between them.
There's Bobby Childs and his tethered mirror. This time it's hanging off the side of the car as opposed to 40 feet in his rears, as he had rubbed that Wall of Champions and the mirror is just hanging on. But he's still moving. He hasn't lost the car yet, so the steering wheel may not be straight, but he's still racing. Good shot of Clint Vigas. Great qualifying for him tonight up there in the 5th spot. He's right up in this mix. He's got to watch this gap in front of him, as it looks like Peak is going to try and make the move down his inside.
There we go. Is Mitchell Peak now side by side over to driver's right with Clint Vigas over to driver's left as they come now under braking into the chicane, and there we go. And it looks like Mitchell Peak has gotten the move done, and Brennan Horan carrying a little bit more speed out of the chicane as well. He gets by Vigas as well.
Huge opportunity there for Horan to see that in front of him, see those two guys going slow side by side, and he's able to kind of pounce on that and follow Peak right on through. Peak, the Canadian here, wants to catch up to Mike Dam, the other Canadian here at this front pack. Peak now with that move, it did separate them a little bit from the Schwenke, Dam, Hartley, and Allen, force him out in front. But, with Peak leading this train with Horan, his teammate, right behind him, they might be able to catch that pack up there if they can work together.
Yeah, not too far back, and especially if we see here, let's see, as the number 3 car pokes to the inside once again. Hartley did that last lap as well, but as they now come in over by the wall of champions there, and let's see, as Allen uses all the ground he can, he still has about a half a car length lead as he cuts right across the bow of Robert Hartley. And noticing, Larry, we were talking about Hartley and Dam perhaps working together, trying to save a little bit of fuel, and it looks like Mike Dam might be having a little bit of trouble keeping up with the pace of Hartley in some of these longer straightaways. And
I wonder if he's doing a little bit of that, or potentially even trying to save some fuel, which does tend to drop you a little bit, but he's going to try and use that draft to stick with him. Still within striking distance. He's within that half a second mark, should be okay. But remember, you got 3 Orion team members here trailing John Allen, and those 3 could be a pretty powerful trio to try and work themselves around. They could all be fuel saving and helping each other with a bit of push draft. They could try the old flock of geese sort of style where they just keep swapping out and see if they can all save some fuel, or they can kind of pick one dog to put all their eggs with and go with that. So it's going to be an interesting strategy here at the front, as we've got a good shot of Tony Kernan now right behind Greg Mack here fighting for 7th.
All right, we jump a little bit further back, and we're on board again with the number 88 of Bobby Childs, who gets around Edgar Santinelli in the Frito-Sport racing machine, but Santinelli right not done yet.
So this interesting thing about that last chicane they just went through is there's one of those sausage curbs on the inside of the exit end of that chicane. In these cars, you hit it right, you can straddle that. You hit it wrong, the car is going to go soaring in the air, or you're just going to be slow. It looked like there Bobby Childs had the latter of that, a little bit of slowness coming out of there, as it looks like he and his running mate here, Santinelli, are both lacking right side mirrors. They're both kind of hanging on. But Childs, in that case, came out of that chicane, didn't quite hit the timing right, and lost that momentum, and wasn't able to hold that. But now you can see Santinelli trying to just push him along. I think they're actually almost working together down this straightaway.
And you can see right now, it looks like the number 79 machine has gotten a drive-through penalty for that incident a little bit earlier. That is, that's Nick Parsono. Didn't see the incident that Parsono was involved in, Larry.
I did not either, but there's been a couple, so we'll let the stewards do their jobs. And so far, we're letting the fronts of these packs race very well. And I'm just going to keep an eye on Mitchell Peak there. He's got this gap to Schwenke down to about 1 second. That's what he needs. We're going to get a replay here on Parsono. Going to tuck up the inside
of the number 62 machine.
Brockway. And that's unfortunately. And then he slows down so much to try and wait for Brockway that John Casey then kind of comes up on him, but Casey works his way around as well.
Yeah. And it looked somewhat reminiscent to that incident that Parsono was involved in with Dibdall a couple weeks ago in Sao Paulo, where same thing, coming into one of the corners, maybe a little bit later on the brakes, didn't anticipate what his competitor might do going into the corner, and just ended up getting a nose into the rear corner.
Yeah, let's not get into penalties for making moves you can't stick and might spin somebody, because there's a little bit. If you want to read all about that, feel free. There's some amateur racing league out there that has some controversy this weekend, but here in the Ricmotech series, it's pretty clear stewards made the call. I believe the right call. We're going to move right back to the front of the pack as these teammates of Hartley and Dam are really pressuring John Allen now, coming out of the hairpin and down the Casino Straight. Beautiful place to put a racetrack. I know it's just super flat, no elevation changes, but I've actually been up here to watch a Formula One race about 20 years ago, and really just a beautiful island just surrounded by the rivers there in Montreal, and great place to watch a race, especially if you can get down here to the first couple of corners and kind of see the action going through there. It's a pretty neat sight.
Oh, and going into the wall of champions, that is the number 56 machine bouncing off the walls, Mitchell Peak, and it looks as though he is going to, well, he's going to have to try and make his way across the track and get over to the pit lane if it's even worth it, but he smacked the wall pretty darn hard there, Larry, right front in, and he is now dropped back. Let's take a look at the replay as he comes down now into the final chicane, turns 13 and 14, and you can see there just a little bit late on turn in. The rear end stepped out on him just a little bit and into the wall with the right front.
It looks like he may be calling it quits. It's unfortunate because we know that he had that first turn sequence and down in Sao Paulo at the first round a couple weeks ago that took him out of the race, and here he is. Certainly one of the fastest drivers in the series, we know that, but unfortunately 2 rounds in, he's got going to end up with probably 2 DNFs. Is Jeff Jacobs doing what Jeff Jacobs does, driving the widest MX-5 in this, on the sim.
I mean, you look at the onboard, the in-home camera there of Jeff Jacobs, and it looks like he's just driving a Cadillac out on the on I-95.
I gotta say, I think he's listening to us because he's kind of smirking as he's driving along. So perhaps he's here to talk about his wide Miata. But he does. He looks really casual and calm as he's trying to hold off behind him.
He's got Dibdahl and last round's winner, Steve Daniel.
Jeff putting all of his veteran experience together to hold off the young Dibdahl behind him, and it's not going to last long. Dibdahl's going to stick his nose in here somewhere, probably at the end of the Casino Straight, if I had to guess here, in the next 25 seconds. As you can see, Daniel and contact there. I think that was,
I think that was
Childs? Yes,
I think Bobby Childs in the 88 machine was back there as well, and so a little bit of a switch there as Dibdahl had dropped back and Daniel had gotten around him. They're now side by side as they make their way down the straightaway here.
Well, unfortunately, it looked like Bobby Childs might have outbroke himself and tapped into the back of Dibdahl, forcing him a little bit wide. Luckily, able to continue as there's more contact now between Daniel and Dibdahl. With Sancinelli now in this mix, his car is the only clean one left in this group. Although he's missing the right mirror, so they've all got a little bit of rubbing.
And now Dibdahl starting to step away just a little bit from the number 96 machine.
Yeah, and this is all this happening is let Jeff Jacobs kind of breathe a sigh of relief here while the rest of these guys are fighting behind him. It's going to work to his favor, but I'll be curious to see if the stewards lay a little bit of penalty out there for the now loose front bumper on Bobby Childs' car after he had tapped into the back of Dean Dibdahl there a couple of corners ago. As we move now up to Tony Kernan trying to hold off Greg Mack as he made his way around him. These guys both dealing with that Wall of Champions right side mirror. Just hanging on. At the end of this race, I'll be shocked to see if anybody still has a right side mirror on the car.
I was going to say, Larry, we're starting to run out of cars that actually have the right side mirror there still up.
Because you catch it, you catch it at 13, which is the exit of the 12-13 Wall of Champions chicane. You can also catch it coming out of 4. You can catch a wall even coming out of 9, all on that right side of the car. So there's a couple spots around this place where it threatens your visibility on the right side of the car, so to speak.
All right, we're on board right now with our leader, John Allen, looking out the back as he's got Robert Hartley and Mike Dam, as well as Travis Schwenke, all over the back of them, or all over the back of him. And let's take a look. Going back, and this is to going back to our original incident on, not on the lap 1, but I believe on lap 2, with Thorman, Rathke, and Jordy Fike, and looks like that is going to be adjudicated after the race this evening. I believe all 3 of those drivers, Larry, have probably called it an evening.
I love the picture of Dean, by the way.
And that is a very different picture than last round. We had a photo of Dean Dibdahl on his tricycle.
But this one's relatively recent as well, so at least he's got a helmet that fits. Yeah, he's young. I don't think he's quite that young. But notice one thing as we had the onboard shot there of Hartley trying to catch John Allen going down that Casino Straight. I believe I heard Hartley lifting towards the end of that straight in the draft. And again, a little bit of fuel save is all he needs. As Bobby Childs is in for some much needed repairs here at the 14-minute mark.
And I believe Jeff Jacobs in the number 88 machine or 38 machine. He's taking some left-hand tires before he heads back out, and he's got those. He's getting some fuel in the car. Now, we expect this race to run somewhere around 31 laps, and these MX-5 drivers, they should have enough fuel to get about 24 laps on a full tank. So, definitely now within and right at the leading edge of the pit window, Larry. So I would have expected the window to open up probably last lap, right around lap 7, and going up obviously to around 24, and maybe if you somehow stretch it out under the draft, maybe lap 25 would be the very end of that pit window.
Yeah, so in this case, Charles is in because, well, he's got much needed repairs and he can take on that fuel, where someone like Jeff Jacobs is probably just thinking it's a good opportunity to kind of just separate himself from that pack that was kind of causing him to maybe drive a little slower. So either way, it's good reasons to come in this early, whereas the rest, I do suspect this front pack of Allen, Hartley, Dam, Schwenke, probably going to be one of the later groups, as it looks like we may have a move for the lead here as Hartley makes his way around. Allen's going to let him go. Allen probably looking at that opportunity to save some fuel as this race goes.
Exactly, yeah. Trying to save a little bit of fuel going through the first chicane.
Slide for Allen. And I think Mike Dam may have backed off just a little bit to kind of leave him space, but that means that Schwenke now has got to run. So a whole lot of shuffling going on in this front foursome.
Yeah, and we see now as Schwenke now gets around Mike Dam as they head down into the S's, into turns 1 and 2. But we have a new leader. It's Robert Hartley in the number 3 machine. Move John Allen back into second with Schwenke running in third.
Yeah, this is a very interesting strategy here. I don't know if this was intentional. It did kind of look like when Allen had that bit of a sidestep move going towards that wall of champions that maybe Mike Dam had sort of backed out just a little bit, and then Schwenke had the good run. At that point, teammates on teammates, just let him go, have the spot. It's not going to hurt at all. And
although I'll tell you, coming out of the hairpin itself, I don't think Allen had gotten a good run. I mean, obviously Hartley was able to get around him for a moment there. It looked as though Dam was going to try to make a run on him going down into the final chicane, and then I think thought a little bit better of it even before John Allen had his issues with the rear end stepping out by the wall of champions.
Yeah, so this is turning into a pretty good battle here as well, with Horan obviously in the ST Open class and Vigas from the Pro, but these guys are running nose to tail and have their own little good battle here. We're currently 5th overall. Vigas officially 5th in class and Horan leading, but when you're out there racing side by side, it doesn't matter which class you're in. It's all for fun racing, and Vigas now really just hounding the back of Horan for this spot.
Yeah, and Horan has he's got a little bit of time to play with as well. Dibdahl and Daniel running 2nd and 3rd in the open class. Currently, I believe there are 4 pro class cars, including Clint Vigas, sitting between them and Brendan Horn. So, matter of fact, if we look, I don't even think Dibdahl had even come onto the straightaway there out of the hairpin yet. So Horn's got a pretty good margin. We'll see if he can hold that going into the pit sequence here as we jump back to that battle right now for 2nd in the open class of Dean Dibdahl in the 19 machine, Steve Daniels in the 96, and then we've got
the more rubbing there on the right side for Dibdahl.
That was more than just a rub, Larry.
Yeah, he had a lot of curb coming through the head chicane, and it's the right move because you got to take some of the curb. But I think he kind of got out of rhythm with the bumps in the curb, and it tossed him to the right, as he's still trying to figure out if the car's pointing the right way. And he better figure it out soon. Daniel's going to say something about that as they head towards turns 3 and 4, this next chicane. And we're going to have another Hamilton-Vettel action on our hands if we're not careful here.
As we were talking to Steve Daniel in the pre-race interview here, he mentioned how he was taking advantage last round of some incidents and some misfortune in his fellow competitors in the open class, and he might be in a position to do it once again. But Edgar Santinelli, he's right there as well. And I'll tell you, when Dibdahl went into the wall of champions, we saw Santinelli really have to check up, because I think he had probably the best run of the 3 through that chicane.
Yeah, and when we talked to Steve Daniel in the onset of the race, and he had said he's more in the long game here, so those kind of things he may just sort of back out and not maybe make that aggressive move, where Santinelli, I think you're right, was probably pouncing to make that move, and he realized we get up there, there's a way to say these guys are kind of side by side, there's just nowhere to go, but Santinelli just looks hungry behind these guys right now. He's hungry for Fritos and his Frito Sport Racing. See what I did there?
Oh, yes.
See if he can get a good run off of this hairpin and try to make some kind of a move, as all 3 of them are just completely nose to tail entering this Casino Straight.
As they make the run now down to complete lap number 9 for them. And we'll see here if the 96 machine decides to step out and move to the inside. Right now, it doesn't look like Dibdahl playing much of a defensive game as they come down into turn one, but a little bit of a slip there on the rear of that car coming under braking into the final chicane.
But another great run for Santinelli, though, through that chicane, and this time he looks like he's eyeing up Steve Daniel to maybe make a pass. He's sitting back there, but he certainly had the move to maybe at least get up alongside him, decided to play patient here for Santinelli.
You know, Larry, if you look at Dibdall just ahead of him, and by the way, Dibdall got a much better run out of the final chicane than Steve Daniel did. But if you notice, Dibdall's having to deal with quite an ill-handling car, at least under braking. I mean, it's one thing to have the car dance a little bit at the edge of adhesion, but the rear end of that machine is really moving from side to side quite a bit. Looks like both under braking, and we'll see it a little bit right there, but also under acceleration as well.
I can't tell if that's a damage induced, which it could be, because the right side of the car has definitely got a lot on there as he's rubbed that wall more than once, or if perhaps his setup is that way. Maybe running a little bit of rear toe, which can help the car quickly through some of this stuff. But boy, it does make for a very tail happy car, and to do that for 60 minutes, that takes quite a bit. As things up front now with Hartley still leading John Allen. And then it's Schwenke and Dam, your top four, nose to tail, 1.6 seconds covering all four leaders.
Yeah, and you'll see here, though, that our two leaders, Hartley and Allen, they have stepped away just a little bit from Schwenke and Dam, but Schwenke and Dam certainly still within the draft there, and I think all they need to do at this point is, as you mentioned before, is just kind of stay close as they come out of the final corner and onto the front straight. If they can stay close, they can continue to save a little bit of fuel.
I think this is where John Allen is actually some of the best that I've seen, which is following the car in front of him. You look at, he is 2/10 off the bumper of Robert Hartley the entire way around, which means you create a bigger gap behind you, and those opportunities for stretching gaps, like currently it's about 6/10, but all it takes is one corner. If he can stick up on the back of the leader Hartley, he creates a bigger gap behind him, less draft behind him, and more of a chance for those front two to pull away. And John Allen's very, very good at that, at being the trailing of those two cars working together.
All right, and we just saw Steve Daniel running third in the open class. He comes down pit lane to go through his pit cycle. We'll see where he comes out on track. That will move Edgar Santinelli up to third in the open class. Dean Dibdall still running in second. Brennan Horn in the number 45 machine. There's Brennan still going at it with the 71 of Clint Vigas. That is the battle for fifth overall, and Horn, your current leader in the open class.
Yeah, Horn running very, very strong. And Vigas not able to make any moves here, but I think Horn really showing he's got some great pace. And it should be the favorite in this open class as the season progresses. And but tonight, I mean, you look at the gap he's put on second place in that class is about 18 seconds back for Dibdall. And for Horn, just running strong and looking like a pro-class racer as we've got movement among the leaders.
Yeah, here we go, side by side now with John Allen, driver's right. Robert Hartley, our leader in the number 3 machine, driver's left, and looks like he is going to be able to lead John Allen here as they come down.
Didn't see how that started. By the time we picked it up, they were already coming out of the corner, but with Hartley on the left and Allen was on the right, I suspect Hartley had a bit of an issue under braking, or Allen was pressuring him coming into that corner, because you don't come out of that corner without... Here's a bit of a replay here as we'll see them.
Yeah, now we go back to live coverage, I believe, as Hartley has maintained that position over John Allen.
It's allowed Schwenke and Mike Dam to stay within the striking distance to keep this foursome together. You just look how John Allen maximizes the car, gets up underneath the back of the leader in front of him, and he's just going to keep trying to hook a hitch to the bumper there and just stay right with him. Try and push him along if he can, because he knows if he can make it a 2-horse race, he's got a better shot than playing with all 4 horses.
I'm wondering if Hartley even recognizes this, because I've noticed that Hartley, it seems at times to take a fairly defensive line into some of these corners, and I don't know if it's just because he's getting caught out the complex before, where John Allen is just simply using as much track as possible.
Right.
And you can see now certainly Hartley, as he moves all the way down to the inside of driver's right, and John Allen, of course, following him in the draft there.
Look how he follows through the corner. Through these chicanes, he's 2/10 behind. I can tell you from experience, that's extremely difficult to do. I have trouble sometimes staying within 4 or 5 tenths when I'm following somebody. He is 1.5 to 2 tenths at the entire way around. And I think you're right that John Allen, he's content staying back there. I don't
Yeah.
know that Hartley realizes how
Yeah,
content he is.
exactly. And in the meanwhile, and I guess it won't matter all that much if these drivers take tires when they go down the pit lane. But it looks like Hartley is certainly having to work the car much harder than perhaps would be necessary. And John Allen, he's just kind of content to set Hartley's pace for him.
Yeah, he really is. And this place is just interesting how that kind of plays. You just don't know when someone's going to poke out and try to make a move. And but we've got some pit stops happening as Mike Dam decides to break away from this lead pack and come in for his stop here at the 25-minute mark.
All right, and we jump back to the battle right now. This is the battle for 7th overall with Greg Mack now, who is with the pit cycles going through. He is now up to, I believe, 2nd in the open class, or pardon me, no, I'm sorry. He's running 5th in the pro class right now in the number 2 car, pardon me. And that is Vigas with him, and Vigas gets around. So good battle there continuing to go on as Brendan Horn has actually worked his way clear of Clint Vigas, now moving up to 4th overall.
Yeah, so he's moved up a little bit. Again, you've got Mike Dam in the pits to kind of help some of that shake up. What I'm really curious now is how long does Schwenke try and trail in behind Hartley and Allen, or does Schwenke try to come back in and try to pair back up with Mike Dam on his pit stop exchanges? Jeff Jacobs, a little trouble in the chicane there. That's a slowdown penalty. You can see him giving it up.
Yep, he has to go let them by, and rolling by him right now, both Steve Daniel and Greg Brockway. And I'll tell you, Steve Daniel, I don't know if he expected Brockway to come all the way across his nose going into that turn complex there, but definitely had to check up, as I don't think Brockway necessarily had all that much clearance as he came across the nose of the number 96 machine.
Heads up driving all around there to kind of see that happening, as Kernan now may be losing a spot to Greg Mack. As they are now through that hairpin. Both these drivers with the matching right sides, and they're going to go side by side again. No one's going to draft anybody. They're going to just play this all the way down the casino straight. Just kind of suck it in, hope to get a little bit better draft and see what happens when they get to the other end. As Kernan's that proverbial nose ahead, but is it going to be enough? As it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like Mac's going to just drop in behind.
Yep. Rather than even thinking. This is not the corner you necessarily want to go too wide unless you're on the last lap, because it's makes that wall come up on you extremely quickly.
All right, well, Larry, we're seeing our drivers start to make their way into the pit lane for their pit cycles, and there we go. There is Travis Schwenke in the number 16 machine. So, again, Hartley and Allen, your 2 leaders, but it looks like the drivers that were right behind them have both gone into the pits. Let's go. We're going to take a quick break and help some of our sponsors out here, and we'll be back with more action from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we're back here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve for round 2 of the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. And Larry, as we get back to the action right now, as we're watching our 2 leaders, Robert Hartley and John Allen, just wanted to remind everybody and let everybody know, stick around to the end of our race tonight. We're going to be talking about a brand new series on Apex Racing TV starting next week and next Monday night. You don't want to miss it. We'll give you a bit more information about this new spec series in just a little bit. Now, Larry, you were checking here, and as we jump back on board, let's take a look here at, I believe this is Greg Mack and Kernan. Oh, and they get together going down into turn 1.
So I think what that is that's the final chicane, and I believe Mack was expecting to go straight into the pits, and Kernan was still braking and turning because it's the same line. The pit entry is on that exact same line.
The entry is all the way driver's left.
I suspect that Greg Mack there just misjudged and thought he could just sneak behind him and that Kernan would be out of the way, and unfortunately he was not.
Yeah, and it looks like Greg Mack has been assessed a penalty for that as well. But before we had that happen, we were talking about, and now going down into the pit lane is Robert Hartley, driver of the number 3 machine, who was our leader, and John Allen now out on track. We'll see how much longer he stays out there without the benefit of the draft or a drafting partner.
Well, let's keep an eye also where this now comes out, because we did see that both Travis Schwenke and Mike Dam pit earlier. Dam pit first, Schwenke pit second. Mike Dam had a great pit stop, sub 14 seconds. Schwenke's was over 16 seconds, and you can look on the leaderboard. Right now, that's about the difference there, though I'm seeing.
Yeah, but it looks like Schwenke just had a slowdown, and so whatever he gained. Yeah.
Mike Dam had it, and in fact, he's coming in. I wonder if he had a penalty assessed because he's coming back in. This is highly unusual, so we'll have to get a word on that. But this is going to change things up. I really thought that perhaps Mike Dam
and this might be the second round in a row that Mike Dam has had some issues where he's had to come down the pit lane a second time, and that is going to hurt here as the number 16 machine and the 3. Let's see, heading out into the lead, or not in the lead, but Travis Schwenke, he gets around our former leader, Robert Hartley.
So Hartley coming out, probably still on the cold tires, so he's going to be a little bit slow. But this is good for Hartley because he's got a dancing partner, a teammate that he can work with who he knows is quick, because these two were sitting in the top 4 to start this race for the first 25 minutes or so. So it's really good for Hartley and for Schwenke to be able to work together, leaving John Allen sort of on his own until Allen's ready to come in for the pits. So I really think this worked out really well for both these guys. Who it didn't work out for, though, as we know, was Mike Dam, who appeared to have some other penalty assessed, perhaps another pit speeding penalty. We'll have to wait and see till post-race, see what that was. But unfortunately for him, as we can see him here making his way back through, not going to be a happy camper there, not a happy Canadian for Mike Dam.
And there you go. So,
turf.
Yeah, and so the number 93 car right now running 11th overall, and you saw that he had to try to work his way around Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 machine. He's got Steve Daniel in the black number 96 car, currently running 4th in the open class, just ahead of him. But for the second round in a row, that drops Mike Dam all the way back in the order. He is now running 7th in the pro class.
Just kind of keeping an eye on John Allen's pace out in front as we get a good shot here of Schwenke and Robert Hartley working well together here. But John Allen's pace running 56s, which is where he needs to be if he's going to running by himself. It's just a matter of how much fuel he's going to have to take on, because we did talk earlier about Hartley and Schwenke both able to kind of stay in that pack. They were basically 2nd and 4th there for the whole start of the race. And so I do suspect that both of them probably able to save a little bit. So those pit stops around that 16-second mark for these guys might be indicative of what a good stop is. So we'll see if John Allen has to take on more fuel than them, perhaps hurting his chances to come back out in the lead once he does decide to pit.
All right, and speaking of drivers who have not headed down to the pits yet, of course, John Allen, our leader right now in the 101 machine. Also, Brennan Horan, who has now moved up to 2nd place overall. Horan is your open class leader, and there he is with in the number 45 machine. David Payton has not gone in for his pit stop as of yet either in the number 64 machine, and then Dean Dibdahl. And I'll tell you, Dibdahl starting to close things down just a little bit. He's still about, I believe, somewhere around 8 seconds or so. Actually, pardon me, around 18 seconds back from Brennan Horn at the moment. So still a long way to go to get up to our leader, but only one car on track separates our two
Dean,
open class leaders.
Having not pit yet, he does have that Orion teammates of Hartley and Schwenke roaring up behind him on track position. They have already pit, so we'll be curious if they catch Dean here before Dean's able to get in for the stop. Of course, we get a good shot now of Jeff Jacobs still trying to chase down Steve Daniel. These two guys, these two veterans really putting on a good show here. Both of them with relatively clean cars still. Don't want to jinx them, but maybe the long game is a good thing. There's 3 cars in your shot right there, all of them with both side mirrors still attached.
They may be the only 3, Larry.
Maybe. Mike Dam, Jeff Jacobs, and Steve Daniel, all of them keeping clean cars. As here you got Schwenke and Hartley still working together, kind of waiting to see when John Allen does finally make that stop and where they're going to end up. And there's Dean Dibdahl I was talking about. That's where he's at. He can see them coming in his mirror. At some point, he's going to have to make a stop for his fuel, and these two guys will be free and clear to get around him and not have to worry about fighting to get by.
And checking the pace of the cars right now, John Allen still, and again, at this point, Allen probably a lot lower on fuel than the other 2 drivers. He is running almost identical times to Schwenke and Hartley. Not much of a difference there.
Actually, he was able to run. You can see the gaps there. He's able to pick up some time on Horan, who's currently running second. But looking at John Allen's previous lap, he just ran a 55.9. And you talk about Schwenke and Hartley, they're running 56.2, 56.5, so they're still about 3-4 tenths slower on that last lap than Allen had done. So this is really playing well, and perhaps it is running on a lighter fuel load for John Allen. It's playing into his hands, and I like that strategy in a car like this and a track like this. Waiting until the last minute, run with the least amount of fuel you can before you have to add any more, and that may be what's working for Allen. He just doesn't have that gauge of, are his laps good? He just has to go, okay, if I can run 55s and they're clean, these are good laps, and hope the other guys, even working together, can't run the same pace. So we'll have to see if John Allen, it's going to come down to how much fuel was he able to save.
Oh, and he gets all over the sausage curbing there at the exit of turn 14. Manages to keep it off the wall of champions, though, Larry. But he's definitely making it interesting. Now we are at again we're running here at lap 20. And again, we suspect that pit window is going to close somewhere around lap 24. So getting close here, as looks like we might have Robert Hartley looking to swap positions up with his teammate. So move Hartley now up to 4th overall, move Schwenke back into 5th.
Probably a good move there for the Orion teammates. I think Hartley has shown just a slightly bit better pace than Schwenke, so flip-flopping them, putting him as the lead car, might work out really well. There could also be a bit of fuel load thing going on here. If Hartley took on more fuel, it might still be better for him to be the lead car and let Schwenke maybe kind of take advantage of that draft behind him while they set their pace and hope to see John Allen before this race is over. As Dean Dibdahl running a little wide there coming out of those the center curves there at the opening of this lap. He's still hanging on, though, yet to take his pit stop.
All right, and so we were talking about the times being put down by Hartley and Schwenke versus John Allen. That last time by, with Hartley putting down a 156.18, that was almost half a second faster than John Allen. So I think we're getting to that point where Allen may want to start thinking about bringing that car in and maybe getting the tires swapped up. Maybe a little bit less of a question of fuel at this point, as Hartley has his equipment starting to get up to temperature.
Yeah, he definitely is, and that may be a bit of a part of perhaps the tires on the left side of the car are probably the ones starting to wear. And I think these guys are only taking left side tires, if I had to guess.
From the looks of it, they're just taking the one side.
Yeah, which would make sense around this place. It is a lot of chicanes, but the longest corners are all these right-handers.
And there he comes. John Allen coming down into the pit lane. Now, we
hopefully
did
on
see
the pit lane speed limiter.
Yeah, Hartley with an 18-second pit stop. As you mentioned, Schwenke quite a bit faster to 16.85. We'll see what John Allen does, as he now has the does not have the car into the pit box as of yet, but we'll check back in just a few moments as we go back to Hartley and Schwenke. Looks like David Payton, who is also I think our sole remaining pro class driver that had not pitted. He is in the pit lane as well.
So this can be really close. I'm watching John Allen. There he is. He's got the left sides changed. The car is down. waiting for him to pull out of there. It's going to be really close. Looks like Allen, though.
Allen is still in, seeing a pit stop time of 17.75, so still a little bit quicker than Hartley. But look where he ends up on track. He ends up in third behind the two teammates. So it looks like once Horan goes in for his pit stop, Hartley should be your leader with Schwenke second, John Allen in third.
A little bit slower through the whole pit lane, about a second or so slower than Hartley. That could have hurt him. But perhaps his in-lap also not quite as strong as some of the laps that Hartley and Schwenke were able to put down. So here we go. They waited 25 minutes to start taking stops. Now they're all done with them. And where are we at? 3 out of the same 3 at the front. It's just Hartley, Schwenke, and Allen just waiting for Brendan Horan to take his stop as the leader in the open class.
Yeah, Horan and Dibdahl both in the open class. They have not headed to the pit lane as of yet. Again, probably about 3 laps of fuel remaining for those cars, so we should see them jump in here in just a few moments. And I think Nick Parsono, probably the only, Parsono's been in, but Patrick Preventis, I think our only other driver who has not come down the pit lane in the number 29 machine. He is currently running in 16th.
Yeah, it's that Greg Mack, the GB Consulting logo on the hood of Greg Mack's car is looking a little bit twisted as he's had some incidents already tonight. He and Steve Daniel tangling it up here. Daniel's car is still clean, though.
Yeah, getting a great run out of turn 7, though, as they make their way down towards the kink over turns 8 and 9. Let's see if Mack can get around.
There's some
a little bit
contact.
of contact and more contact between Daniel in the number 96 and Greg Mack in the number 2 machine. Looks like Daniel was able to continue on, but Daniel definitely off the pace there, at least for the moment. Doesn't look like it hurt the car all that much, however, Larry.
Yeah, for a moment there, looked like he was going to have some pretty severe damage. I think iRacing kind of fixed it as the computers all figured out what kind of damage he should have. But definitely a little tangling there through that 8-9 chicane. And for Steve Daniel, kind of taking the worst of it when it comes to track position, as Clint Vigas still battling here against David Payton. Payton with a great run out of the chicane, though, might be able to make a move going into the
and
opening
bouncing
section.
off the wall, coming out of the, looks like a little bit further back was Jeff Jacobs in the 38 machine, bouncing off the wall of champions there.
The 2 guys with the cleanest cars we were talking about a little while ago were Steve Daniel and Jeff Jacobs, and now it seems maybe perhaps both of them have dirtied their cars up just a little bit, as Jacobs, he's looking all right in that shot. He's still hanging in there, currently running in 8th.
Well, maybe that mirror finally caught up to him. All right, as we jump back now to the battle for the lead here with, well, not the battle for the lead at the moment, but eventually we think this will be the battle for the lead as Hartley's running 2nd overall, Schwenke 3rd, John Allen 4th, and behind our open class leader, Brendan Horan, who's still yet to pit. And looks like John Allen pretty much with the same strategy that he had earlier, just managing a gap to Travis Schwenke. Larry, I don't know if that's necessarily the best strategy, because that's going to probably give our leader Hartley a little bit of advantage, a little bit of an ability to move away, assuming he can get around the 78.
John Allen misjudging his braking point, punting Schwenke there in front of him, and that's going to move Schwenke to the side. And I definitely will see a penalty here for John Allen, unfortunately, for missing that braking point.
Yeah, and you see Allen came to pretty much a complete stop there going into the final chicane into turn 13. Let's take a look at a replay to
bring a penalty. And you can see here as Schwenke, doing his thing. You got to brake, got to slow down, you got to turn in, and Allen just misses his braking point and unfortunately spins Schwenke off to the side. Allen tries to slow up and wait for him, but
and it's unfortunate too, because Hartley had completely missed the chicane and had gone into the runoff area there, no doubt, probably got a slowdown. Unfortunate for John Allen, more unfortunate for Travis Schwenke, of course, in the number 16 machine. And you can see where John Allen, obviously he knew what happened. He brought the car almost to a complete stop to let Schwenke get back underway and keep the position. But looks like now Schwenke is back underway, but
it appears
quite a
that
bit further back.
There you go, drive-through penalty for John Allen. So no real surprise there. That's going to drop John back. It's probably going to end up with Hartley is currently your leader. Dean Dibdahl still waiting on that pit stop, as you can see him right there in the shot. right behind Hartley. Dibdahl currently second. Allen currently third, waiting on the penalty to be served. And then Travis Schwenke. And then Brennan Horan, your leader in the Open class, after his pit stop, is currently 5th overall, first in the Open. So a great night so far for Brennan Horan. He might be moving up as high as 4th overall once this John Allen penalty becomes served.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, I think he was, before the pit stop sequence, had at one point been up as high as 4th again. Brennan looking for a little bit of redemption after starting from the pole at Sao Paulo a couple of weeks ago and not getting wrecked out, but unfortunately getting into a pretty big incident at turn 3 on the very first lap. So a very strong race tonight for the 45 car as Dean Dibdahl now comes down the pit lane for his
and John Allen
pit time.
Taps into the back of Dibdahl, expecting Dibdahl to go a little further. John Allen serving his penalty, maybe generating more, unfortunately for him, as he just needs to drive through and let Dean Dibdahl get to his pit stop. And so that will definitely be Hartley in the lead, Schwenke in second, and it looks like it's going to move potentially then Brennan Horan up to third. Great night for Brennan. Good shot there of David Payton trying to chase down Clint Vigas coming out of that Wall of Champion chicane.
Yeah, and we should mention here that the Vigas now, I believe, will, depending on how far back Allen is, might actually end up in 3rd. We'll have to see as John Allen, it looks like as he made it out of the pits, it looks like John Allen might, areas he's back out on track. Only lost the position to Schwenke, falls back into 3rd, but he is, of course, quite a bit back at this point, about a little bit less than 7 seconds back from Schwenke, who now in the number 16 machine moves up to 2nd. Or back up to 2nd.
So for Allen, I guess that is minimal damage considering what had transpired. So for him, he at least be able to salvage a podium out of this. Probably not happy about his own performance, and nobody's ever happy to punt somebody else out of the way. But for Schwenke, able to get going again and got himself back up to 2nd. This is still a great progress here for Schwenke to still be rolling here in the 2nd step of the podium here with 14 minutes to go. And for Hartley, he can kind of just got to cruise. If he's got any fuel issues, he can definitely save a little bit. He's all by himself. He's got 5-6 seconds lead on his teammate and another 6 seconds further back to John Allen. So for Hartley, just got to hit his marks and bring it home at this point.
Yeah, I was just say, just maintain the equipment there, stay clear of the number 78 machine, try not to get caught up with him, and just bring the car home. All right, so as we do have just now under 15 minutes remaining, want to remind everybody watching at home, if you like what you see here tonight, go ahead, smash that thumbs up button, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel. You can find out about all the great motorsports offerings, virtual racing offerings that Apex Racing TV has seemingly around the clock from around the world. Go and click that notification bell so you can find out all about them. And you can find out also about all the great things that Apex Racing TV has going on all the different social media platforms on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter. Just search for Apex Racing TV. You'll be happy you did here as we watch now Steve Daniel here with Greg Mack. And both those drivers, the difference is now Greg Mack, no right-hand mirror, and the left-hand mirror is about ready to say goodbye as well. He's obviously had a bit of a difficult evening in that number 2 machine.
He certainly has. He had that moment a bit ago with the chicane with as John Allen appears to have incurred a little bit more damage.
Yeah, like a left or right front tire completely down or completely gone.
I suspect that could be Wall of Champions. Yes, it
is. Yes, it was. So there you go.
He scared that wall a while back, and unfortunately for John Allen, this may be bringing his end early here for tonight, as he has got himself out of this race, which means Brennan Horan now is promoted up to 3rd overall, as well as leading the Open class. So for Brennan, a fantastic night, really just checking out on the rest of the Open class with Dibdahl, Sancinelli, and Daniel. And for Horan, he might be up on the podium here in the Pro class of the overall. So great night with just about 11 minutes to go here for Brennan Horan. Just got to bring this thing home. So, really, really great performance from him. Had some battles. He had to kind of fend off some folks. And right now, he's just kind of not a car in the shot for Brennan Horan. Really, really great night for him.
Yeah, it's spectacular. I mean, he started off fairly far up in the field with already a five-car advantage over the rest of the open class when the green flag flew. And he has just run a consistent, strong race with good strategy tonight. And just as we were talking about Hartley, just needing to manage the equipment and bring the car home, keep some focus for about 10 minutes. Same thing for Brendan Horn, and he'll come home with the open class win tonight as we jump back over to our leader, Robert Hartley, in that number 3 machine. And you can see here his teammate, Travis Schwenke, a little bit further back. But we should mention with John Allen having that issue at the Wall of Champions, and he is sitting in the pits right now. That will move Clint Vigas up into 3rd place in the number 71 machine.
Yeah, he's in the pro class. He's got a great night for him.
Yeah.
Qualified well, able to kind of hang around, having this great battle with David Payton going on right now.
Yeah.
But,
and I was going to say, this is the battle right now for the last step on the podium in the pro class between Vigas and Payton.
And Mike Dam actually we're on board with. So Mike Dam right in this mix after his issues and that potentially penalty he had to serve for that second time through the pits. So for Mike Dam, kind of a bit of a recovery drive, trying to maybe get back onto the podium here. But he's got to get his way around both Payton and Vigas if he wants to get on the podium in the pro class. But he's got 10 minutes to do it. So he's got about 5 laps. He's certainly not all is lost yet for Mike Dam, but he's going to probably have to start making moves quickly. David Payton's not going to make it easy on him going down this casino straight here towards the final chicane.
No, certainly not as they come into the hairpin right now. And as they come out, we can see where Dam took a little bit later exit, and now all over the back of the 64 machine on this very, very long run down the casino straight, heading towards the final chicane over towards
Payton
13 and 14.
The long way. Payton's not going to give him the inside through that kink. Going to make him go the long way, but he's able to make it stick anyway for Dam. So now Dam can set his sights on Vigas. He's about 2 seconds, about a second and a half maybe, clear out in front. So he's got to now put his head down and see if he can get one more spot to end up back on the podium after his issues early. And really, if you think about it, for Robert Hartley, after taking the opening round win with drivers around him kept fading away and falling away, whether it was drive-through penalties or whether it was wrecks into walls, which sounds a lot like tonight, for
Yes.
Hartley, he's playing survival mode as well as being fast. And right now, it's got him a pretty substantial lead on his teammate as well as the rest of this field here in Montreal. So Hartley also trying to just bring this thing home, but a couple of great rounds for him so far with about 8 minutes left here in round 2.
And if Hartley manages to take the win tonight, that will give him a substantial lead on the rest of the field with those 2 wins in a row. And especially with when we look at the issues that Jordy Fike had at the beginning of this race, Fike having finished second at Sao Paulo and sitting all the way back in, I believe, 11th position in the pro class right now. That is 21st overall. So again, big advantage there for Robert Hartley if he can make this win stick.
Yeah, definitely for him. So it's been watching his chief rivals all just kind of fade away, and that's why Mike Dam, I guess, to kind of salvage something here is going to be pretty critical for him, as we had Greg Mack still trying to chase down Steve Daniel here. But I think for Mike Dam, getting one more spot would be a bit of redemption for him, because we know that he had the struggles in the middle of that race there in Sao Paulo a couple weeks back, and of course tonight with what appears to be a second some sort of penalty that had a drive through. So for him, getting back on the podium would salvage some points, at least keep Hartley within shot here early in the season. Because the worst thing you can do in a long season like this, get off to 2 bad rounds and not score much for points. So I think for Mike Dam, this kind of becomes critical. But Clint Vigas is there, and he's not going to give it up easy. Just like Steve Daniel's not going to give up this spot to Greg Mack easy at all.
All right, and here we go as we watch that battle continue on, and look at this now as the 93 machine of Mike Dam. He's cleared out that 1.5 gap up to Clint Vigas. He's all over the back of the number 71 machine here as the clock continues to run down. We've got just about 6 minutes remaining in this 60-minute race, and just a few more laps remain as they come through, and we'll see if Dam can make his way around that number 71 machine. But Larry, he made up a lot of ground in just 2 laps on Clint Vigas.
He certainly did, and Vigas is driving in his mirrors at this point, kind of worried about the veteran behind him. Whereas this is the hardest thing about, if you're just kind of getting into the series and with these drivers, you know the name Mike Dam, you know he's won championships in this class, in this series, and it just kind of makes you a little nervous when you start seeing him in your mirrors thinking, I got to hold this spot, where I know that Vigas has run some really great laps this race. I'd like to see him just kind of not worry about what's behind him and try and keep laying those laps down. Maybe turn himself a good finish here. By the way, I love looking at that line on board here with Mike Dam, as he was able to straddle that sausage curve there at 9 at the exit of that chicane. That's the fast way out of there. It has got to be worth 3-4 mile an hour difference coming out of there if you can make that line stick. And what you saw there was Vigas in front of him hit that curb, and Mike Dam straddles it, and how much more smooth Mike Dam was coming through that next straightaway.
Yeah, and so now as they come out of the hairpin and make their way down the casino straight, you can see that the Dam is locked in behind that number 71 car as they come onto the longest straightaway here at the track, and he pops the driver's left. We'll see if he can get the pass done before they come under braking. You look at the 71 machine, he moved all the way over to driver's right. It seems like he just didn't want to have anything to do with the number 93 car as they go under braking now, as Dam pops over the curbing, stays clear of the wall of champions. And so Mike Dam now, after having that early penalty, he now moves up back into third place in the pro class, running fourth place overall in the number 93 machine.
Take a look at the cars right in front of this pack. 2 cars on track in front, I believe, is Brennan Horn.
There you go. Yep,
you've
got the number 78. Yeah, you've got the number 78 machine, which is John Casey, who's currently sitting down in, I think, 15th overall. And then just ahead of him is Brennan Horn. So, again, Horn trying to hold on to that third place overall, but Mike Dam's running.
Did you notice who Horn just passed? Is a limping Travis Schwenke, who was running second, is no longer running second overall. Second in pro, but that's because of what's going on right here. As you can see, Horn makes a nice clean exit here, this opening set of S's. And you see Schwenke slow already on the right of the track.
And I was checking this out, Larry, because as of the previous lap, Schwenke had already been down about 9 seconds from Robert Hartley and had lost it pretty quickly there. We'll take a look and see if we can pick up where this might have happened.
So I wonder if perhaps he had to serve a penalty, and that's where he did it. Because what this has all done, in addition to putting your open class leader Horan in the second overall, put Schwenke down to third, still second in pro, is it's brought Mike Dam right back up
into that battle.
We were just talking about Mike
Dam
trying to salvage a third place. Now he's got it in the pro class with a shot to take second place from his teammate right in front of him, who appears to kind of be limping along. But look at that train of Vigas and Peyton right behind them in this group. So a whole lot of people want that second and third spot on the podium, and only 2 of them are going to get it. Right now, Mike Dam is probably where I'm going to be putting my money, because he has been the quickest of this pack in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, as we come down now to just a bit over 2 minutes remaining here, as our drivers come down out of the final chicane onto the front straight. They've crossed the line. We should have now Hartley should be getting the 1 to go the next time by here. So again, we should be finishing up at about 32 laps instead of the 31 that I had anticipated here as they make their way through. And things are starting to tighten up now here, as Mike Dam now all over the back of Travis Schwenke. This is now the battle for second in the pro class, with Vigas right behind him as well. And a little bit of time left for these drivers, but not much.
And I think that Schwenke is just going to be a matter of time before Mike Dam makes a move. Probably on, this is where we talked about the onset, though, is that last straightaway to the last chicane is a very strategic move. But I think with Mike Dam and his pace, if he's able to get by even on this coming lap, or this lap now, I have a feeling he can even gap both Vigas and Schwenke on the last lap, that he wouldn't have to worry about a retaliation move on the final lap. But he does need to make a move before Clint Vigas gets up on him, because Clint has not gone anywhere.
No, I was going to say that Dam probably wants to make that move as quickly as possible, and I'll bet you Vigas wants him to do it as well, because if Vigas can then draft up behind the number 16 car coming out of the hairpin, well, and we're getting to the hairpin right now, that might have given him the opportunity to leapfrog the 16 of Schwenke as well, as they now make their way down. Robert Hartley in the number 3 machine. He has now taken the white flag. I believe, or he will be taking the white flag here in just a second with 1 lap to go. Here he comes onto the front straight.
There's your white flag right there. So to his final lap, he just has to survive 13 more corners, but these guys are going to be battling for those corners, because Mike Dam wants that spot.
Oh,
and is right behind
and
Clint
Vigas.
Yes,
Vigas going into the Wall of Champions, and it looked like Dam had some issues there as well. But Dam carrying a little bit more speed, and he's got the inside line as they come down. Actually, pardon me, he's got the outside line.
The outside that becomes the inside. Mike Dam knows that, and he's now got the advantage. So now for Schwenke, he's got to get a run, perhaps off the casino, down that casino straight, and he's just going to have to stay really, really close to Mike Dam here on this last couple of corners. But Vigas, lucky to survive that Wall of Champions and still be battling here for a potential podium spot.
Yeah, and there we go. And I'll tell you, it looks like Brennan Horn having some issues with some backmarker traffic there. It looks like he's now dispatched that number 29 car. I thought he might run the risk of falling into the clutches of that battle for second in the pro class as well, but Horn makes his way clear.
As Pat Ravenna's kind of pulling out of the way, saying, guys, I don't want to mess up your race. Just go. And he's trying to. He's trying to get out of their way. Yeah, there he is. He's on the brakes hard, letting all three of these guys go by. Good sporting move. Appreciate that.
But in the transition there, it looks like Schwenke's lost a little bit of ground to Mike Dam.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think Mike Dam's got the pace enough through this first half of this lap to maybe gap enough to Schwenke to not let Schwenke retaliate going down the final straightaway. But this is where it's all earned right now for Schwenke. If he can get the run that Mike Dam can't, he's got a shot. But Mike Dam looks pretty clean out of there.
Yeah, Dam opened that corner up and really freed that car up quite a bit.
I think Dam's got a little draft coming in from Brendan Horn in front of him, but we've got a Robert Hartley just last chicane to go.
There we go. He gets past the Wall of Champions, comes onto the front straight here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and for the second round in a row, Robert Hartley, driving the number 3 Orion Racing Machine, takes the win at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Now coming onto the front straight, it is coming down, finishing in second, your winner in the open class, Brendan Horn. Great run for him. Mike Dam works his way all the way back up. Will finish second in the pro class with Travis Schwenke. Third, Clint Vikas just cannot get around Schwenke. He finishes one step off the podium. David Payton will come home 5th overall. Then Tony Kernan finishing, Payton will finish 5th in the pro class, 6th overall. Kernan 6th in pro class. Edgar Sanchinelli comes home now, and he finishes up in second in the pro class in the number 57 machine, and that means that Steve Daniel, I think, has gotten around. There he is, coming down across the line. Steve Daniel will take the last step on the podium in the open class. Dean Dibdahl, who had been coming into the final pit stops, running second in the open class, he will finish one step off the podium in 4th.
Yeah, great night for Robert Hartley, backing up that round 1 win with another win here in the Great White North. And for him to have max points in 2 rounds, considering all of his rivals around him that don't even have 2 reasonable finishes, that's a great start to the season for Robert Hartley. And for Brendan Horn, oh my goodness, I can't wait to talk to him. He's going to be one excited young man with a great finish here in this round, finishing second overall and taking the open class win.
Well, Larry, you're going to have to hold your breath. You're going to have to hold on for just a moment. Get ready, because we're going to take one final break. We're going to go thank our sponsors, and then we'll be back with those interviews, and we'll also talk about that brand new Ricmotech series starting up next week. So, from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, you just watched the finish of the Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. We'll be back in just a moment.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, just finishing up a great battle here in the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry McLeod. And Larry, as we get ready, and you have to keep holding your breath just a little bit for our podium finishers to come up for their interviews, wanted to talk real quick while we wait about a new series that is starting up next week. Next Monday night from Ricmotech, and that is the Lambo Trophy Series. And it is going to be a fixed setup series, and we are still accepting driver registrations. If you want to find out more about the Lambo Trophy Series, running those Lamborghini Huracans, you can go to extrememotorsports99.com and click on the Road Racing Series there. We'll have all the information for you, and hopefully you can join us next Monday night. It should be a great time here. So, Larry, let's take a look here. I think we have, and you don't have to wait any longer because it looks like we have our open class winner, Brennan Horan, here and ready to go.
All right, let's talk to Brennan Horan. Open class winner, started 7th on the grid. He was starting way back in row 4, just trying to fend off the rest of open class. Suddenly find himself in contention for the podium, ends up 2nd overall, and the winner of the open class, Brennan Horan. Brennan, what a heck of a night for you.
I cannot believe this right now. I'm smiling ear to ear. I have no words.
It's a super clean race for you. You had a couple of battles early, but you just kept putting down laps. And while everyone else's right side mirrors are hanging off and the right side fenders are all left back there in the Wall of Champions, did you manage to stay clean with that wall tonight?
Yep. And I might even have a 0x. This was this whole race was just about consistency for me. I even took 4 tires at the pit stop when everybody else took 2, just because I didn't want to risk anything. And and it worked out, obviously.
Yeah, fantastic strategy and execution just to a T to be able to come away with essentially it's like a perfect race to be able to like you say, if you can get a 0x in a 7-lap race around this track, let alone a 32-lap race. So very impressive. I mean, have you practiced this track a lot? Is this just one of your favorites, or it is now?
Well, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but my first lap tonight was my first qualifying lap. And I only did about 15 laps or 20 laps yesterday, and that was it.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it was just consistently. I tried to stay as calm as I could through this whole race, and I think that's what really did it for me.
Yeah, absolutely paid off in just all kinds of rewards for you here to be able to walk away with the open class win, 2nd overall for the race, and definitely the cleanest car we can see at the end of this race. So congratulations for that, Brennan, and I'm sure you want to thank some folks for getting up there tonight.
Of course, first I got to thank my team eSport Racer. They after they all wrecked out today, which surprisingly is what they also did on the last round too. And Jordy got 2nd place, so I don't know if that's good luck and bad luck, but you got to thank them. They walked me through this race, and couldn't have done it without them. Their sponsor, GB Consulting, for the computing power. Extreme Motorsports 99 for the league. It's a great league. You guys for the broadcast. I always love watching it, and my family loves watching it too, and thank them for their support throughout all this. And I can't believe this right now, guys.
But yeah, your family, I'm sure, has got a lot to celebrate tonight, and hopefully they're going to enjoy the show. And you put on a great performance, nearly perfect from start to finish. So congratulations on that open class win and up on the podium in the pro class. That's awesome. So congrats, Brennan.
Thank you so much, guys. Hope to see you next time.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We hope so too. Brennan Horan, your winner tonight in the open class, driving the number 45 eSport Racer machine. And Larry, you could just hear it in his voice how simply amazed he was, and how happy he was to finish where he did tonight, and the fact that he only did about 15 laps leading into this here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to prep for this race. Pretty darn amazing considering how smooth his race went tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very, very impressive run for Brennan tonight. I'm just to be able to come through here and not only not hitting the wall of champions once, but not even probably having any course cuts or anything. A 0x race. It's just fantastic execution for Brennan tonight.
All right, and so now, now Larry, we've got our second place finisher in the pro class. Had a heck of a run over the last number of laps here, driving the number 93 machine. That is, of course, Mike Dam driving the number 3 Orion Racing entry. Let's bring him on in.
So Mike Dam with us. Mike, you were a part of this battle early, and then the pit stops went through, and we saw you going back in. You want to kind of walk us through what happened there?
Yeah, that was a bit of an eventful race, to say the least. My pit crew forgot to fuel me during my pit stop, so there's that. And yeah, so from there, it was just kind of an uphill battle.
Well, you climbed the hill pretty fast. When you came back out, you were back in, I don't know, 6th or 7th, and we were saying, wow, that's a terrible night for him after, not a great first round, the issues you had at Interlagos, and suddenly you were chipping away. You got by Clint Vigas, and suddenly you guys found yourself right there with Travis, and even right in the back of Brennan Horn in the open class there at the end of the race. As you're picking your spots through there, are you being strategic, or are you just kind of going whenever it presents itself and worry about the consequences later?
Well, there's kind of two types of driving in these races. There's kind of like fuel saving, tire preservation, and then there's drive like a madman because you need to make up positions kind of thing. So yeah, that was just I guess a stage in the race where obviously I had nothing to lose. So obviously I don't want to wreck people's races or whatnot, but I'm pushing pretty hard at that point.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. We're like, wow, he'll be lucky to get that third spot, in the class, and all of a sudden, you're right on the tail of Travis Schwenke. I'm sure had a couple of rough laps there to help you, but next thing you know, you're trailing Travis, your teammate, and then you got Clint behind you. Are you worried more about trying to get to the spot in front? Or are you worried about Clint overtaking you from behind?
Well, yeah, there was that too. Clint almost had a chance to get by me again, just because of traffic and just the situation. But yeah, there's definitely other parts to play, like the John Allen in the wall. I think Travis was having equipment malfunctions, and I think there's probably wasn't a guy on the track that had a clean race. So there's a lot that contributed to running up the order again.
Yeah, well, raw speed helps a lot when you're closing down the field there at the end of the race, and it got you right back up into a second in the pro class for you tonight. And after the first round of the Interlagos didn't go your way, I think this had to feel pretty good to be able to crawl back up there. So congratulations on that, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you in the next round.
Alrighty, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, there you go. That was Mike Dam finishing second tonight, driver of the number 93 Orion Racing machine. And Larry, I've been looking around, trying to I've been poking my head out of the commentary booth, trying to find Robert Hartley, our winner from this evening, and cannot seem to track the man down.
Perhaps he's sipping champagne, or maybe enjoying just a big old bottle of Molson or something up here. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But
having some trackside poutine or something, you never know.
Perhaps, but yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to probably be able to talk to him. But we can't say enough about the night that Robert had in again a super clean race, clean pit stops, came back out and just kind of kept his nose clean. Was able to mix it up there early with John Allen and be there in the end to take the win. So great win for Robert. Now 2 wins in 2 rounds. For Robert Hartley, that's going to make it tough for the rest of the field to have to chase as we approach our next round in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, it will. All right, so let's start wrapping things up here, Larry. Again, wanted to mention that great new series going to be starting next week here on Apex Racing TV. That is the Lambo Trophy Series. Again, still accepting applications for that series. If you go to extrememotorsports99.com, you can sign up for what is going to be a really spectacular series with fixed setups and going to a lot of very popular tracks over over the course of the season, and we'll get to the schedule here in just a moment, but just the little
Fixed
hint that he's
setups,
starting off.
Setups, folks. If you're
That's right.
intimidated by a GT car and it's 4 billion knobs to turns, you get into that Lambo series, it'll be fixed setups. They're going to give you a setup, and it's going to be just you and your ability to learn a track and be racing against everybody else. And it's going to be a fantastic series. A lot of the same type of action we saw here in the slower MX-5s. You're going to see it in a much faster, more powerful GT3 car in that Lambo, and I'm looking forward to watching it. It's going to be great racing.
Yeah, it certainly is, Larry. And for our MX-5 drivers, and for those of you, obviously, that we're here watching this here tonight, we've gotten word that the points have already been updated on the ExtremeMotorsports99.com website. So if you want to find out where everybody lies after 2 rounds, now head on over there, and you can find out all about that. You can find out. Well, we know who's leading the pro class. So the question is going to be who's leading the open class now. All right, so why don't we take a look at the events coming up? And as we've already mentioned, next week we do have the Lambo Trophy Series, and they are, I believe, going to be running 2 30-minute sprint races at Barber Motorsports Park, and that should be a great battle, as Larry mentioned. Then, coming up after that, 2 weeks from tonight, we have the Classic Sprint Series returning, and as we mentioned, we're going to be heading over to Brands Hatch, and our MX-5 drivers, they are going to be running 30-minute sprints, 2 30-minute races, and I believe, Larry, that the way it works is that second 30-minute race has the grid inverted, so it should make for some very interesting racing.
That'll be fun.
That should be amazing. And then August 9th is going to be round 1 of the new season of the Ricmotech World Challenge. Our LMP2 and GT3 cars are going to be over at the Daytona International Speedway. I think that's the 2nd season in a row where we've started off at Daytona. Should be a great battle there for the big boys, and we'll see how things turn out there as we start that season up. So before we get everything closed down here, again, want to remind you, if you liked what you heard tonight, if you liked what you saw tonight, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV's YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you can find out about all of the great motorsports and virtual racing action that we have running seemingly around the clock from all across the world here on Apex Racing TV. And of course, you can find out about all the great events and everything Apex Racing TV related on our social media channels. Go to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, and just search for Apex Racing TV, all one word, and find out about all the action before it happens. So for Larry McLeod, for Dennis Branch, back behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Lambo Trophy Series.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.